Yep. So welcome again to today's session. My name is Dr. Karen Blay. I'm a lecturer in digital construction and quantity surveying at Loughborough University. My research areas are on inclusion in digital environment. I also look at information resilience in a digital space and how to adapt digital systems in the built environment, i.e., like blockchain technologies, GIS, and so on to facilitate collaborative and inclusive working. So, just a bit about myself. I have my background is in both programming and construction management. I've worked previously as a quantity surveyor for both a client and a contractor, and I've also worked in the IT sphere as a network assistant. So, my research and my PhD was in project resilience, looking at how project teams are resilient, how they can work together and overcome perturbations. For today's session, we'll be discussing this is a two-way session, as you've all come for the workshop, very interactive on how we can attract and retain women in construction through digitalization. So I recommend that we use the comment box to ask any questions, and at the end, I will address them. If there's no time, I will always come back into the session. I think it should still be available. I'll have to speak to the organizers and see how best I can respond to them. So, what are we talking about today? Well, first of all, we're going to have an introduction. I'll just give a brief overview about the factors that are leading to the leaky pipe, i.e., what is preventing women from coming into construction, or what is not preventing them from coming to construction, and also when they're in, what what's happening, how's the environment like, why are they not being retained, why do they then want to seek to change career, or if they have to go off on maternity break, why don't they come back, what's leading to the leaky pipe, how's the environment like. So we'll talk about that pre-digitalization, i.e. what's happening now, what strategies have been put in place, why these strategies are not working or effective as they should be, and what we can do differently. And then we're going to have a breakout session, so a task. And the key thing we'll be discussing is the role or roles digitalization or technology can play in attracting and retaining women in construction. And then we'll come back at the end of the breakout session. Each group will nominate one person to share in 2 minutes what was discussed during the breakout session. And then I'll also share some examples of what has been happening in other sectors like the shipping industry and also the oil and gas sector and other other sectors in general. So, in terms of attracting and retaining women, what are the current challenges when it comes to construction? So, one challenge is, i.e., how we market construction as a manual male dominated industry. That's one of the things that we realized. So I had a couple of students who carried out some research to have a look at what is causing these challenges and what we have to do differently in terms of attraction and retention. And what we also found out from the study was lack of campaigns or outreach to schools, and not just to schools to talk about construction, but also highlight the diverse sectors or diverse disciplines that they are within construction. So there's a lot of work that has been done, like in STEM, about science, technology, engineering. So when it goes to construction, many people focus on just the engineering dimension, but there's more to just that within the construction discipline. There's the QS, there is the construction manager. There are very different disciplines that are out there within the construction sphere, which can also be um, explained or shared, or even project management role publicized to students in schools so that they can see that it is a diverse discipline. And also, one challenge that we identified was the lack of early mentoring program for school levels. So having someone in the industry or someone either academia or someone higher at a higher level in terms of education, so even university students mentoring school level student to explain to them what it is, what construction is about, to attract them and let them know that it's not exactly how it's been marketed out there. Then, when we get women into construction, what are the challenges? So, as I highlighted at the beginning, in terms of the leaking pipe, this is mainly due to the unconducive environment that is available. Things that we identify were like high workload, long hours of working. There's other issues with glass ceiling, promotion, the fact that sometimes as women you have to work twice as much, or you're treated differently because people see you differently, either trying to work very hard to attain higher level, or we're treated as being fragile. And then this that goes down to the sexual discrimination. And then also we have the part about the male culture and how people feel. So when we talk about discrimination and bias, is generally how it's more like a feeling. So it is invincible, but how people feel. But all this being challenges, there has been several works that have been carried out, and there are a lot of reports that are driving the change. So, like the Pharma Review, it was pushing construction to modernize or die, and then i.e. basically the focus was on manpower shortage, what construction sector can do to widening the skill gap, what we can do to ensure that there is enough training, significant training, and also policies, and not just policies that don't work in line with the company values, and so on and so forth. So there has been a push, and there has been work that has been done in this area to promote. So some of the things that have been carried out in terms of attracting women in construction, we've had outreach programs in secondary schools which have started highlighting the diversity of disciplines and also of the teams, and how innovative a diverse team will be and the value they give to the company. And also projecting the digital or digitization of the construction industry and innovations that have been recently developed to enhance productivity, enhance the way work is delivered. So to change the perception of the industry. And what has been done within the construction is learn from other sectors that have succeeded in attracting women in construction. And the key thing in terms of attraction is promoting inclusive recruitment processes. So some of the processes, when we go down the line, you identify that there are times where maybe some of the job adverts have gendered language. So they would then attract just men to apply for these jobs. But then how we need to reduce those biases or those unconscious bias in and across these systems. And then just what you said on tackling unconscious bias during recruitment. So managers and managers and most of the workers in the strategic position being enrolled on the unconscious bias training, especially for recruitment sessions. Then when it comes to retention, a number of initiatives have been enrolled, i.e. mentor role model program as part of induction process, um, lack of zero tolerance for behaviors that are not suitable for the organization or make people feel excluded, rewards and promotion which are based on results, what you can do, what the outputs are, and not necessarily your gender, your race, or any protected characteristic. And also a number of initiatives such as modifying policies and making sure that these policies that are being modified are in line with the company values. Because sometimes the policies that I've written they're just in the book, but then what is actually happening practically is a bit different. And one of the key things is flexible working, given the many dynamics and complexity when it comes to working in these environments. There have been work done on tackling pay imbalances. I've just highlighted training on conscious bias, not just for job or attracting, i.e., recruitment, but also a continuous training of unconscious bias, and then things about cultural change and development. So these are things that have strategies that have been developed. So then the question is, why are these not working effectively? Why do we still have 13 or 14% of women within the built environment? What do we have to do differently? So before I move on to what we have to do differently, it's a complex system. It requires action on a number of different fronts. And as I clearly highlighted, policies being equal to values and everybody along the chain within an organization, the hierarchy, be it hierarchical level or a flat system, knowing what role they have to play to make everyone feel included or retain and attract women in construction. What we can do differently, you and I, everyone else involved in this, continuously create an environment that encourages and supports women, and also use digitalization or technology to change the outdated image or stereotypes within the industry. So then someone might ask, why digitalization? Why not any other thing? So as we all know, because when I check the event list, most of us are from very different disciplines. And we've all realized, even with COVID or even pre-COVID, most sectors were being or becoming digitalized or currently are digitalized for one reason or other, mainly because of effectiveness or productivity and maximizing resources and so on and so forth. So one thing digitalization will do in terms of the challenges that I've clearly highlighted and some of the solutions, digitalization facilitates flexible working, um, remote working, and also helps to remove any invisible bias because you tend to then focus on what the person can do or what output is being delivered through the process and not necessarily knowing who's in the background doing what, in addition to allowing people to work at any time, provided the goal or the task is completed. So there was a study by Novi, which was highlighting the fact that it opens opportunities to improve our participation within the industry, in terms of mainly because of the flexibility that it provides. And within the industry, or on life or in general, we may have two ends of the spectrum. So some people might be interested in soft skills, others will be interested in the hard skill, do everything regardless of the gender or whatever. Digitization helps in both at both ends of the spectrum. And also, following the pharma review, it helps to force participation. So one thing we realized from the earlier research was people sometimes decide to leave in terms of the leaky pipe, leave the industry because they don't feel like they're included in activities, or they don't feel they're provided, they have the opportunity to participate in whatever that is happening within the organization. So then they are either excluded or feel isolated. But one of the things that digitization will help or does help, and the reason why we have to see how best we can explore digitization is because of the inclusion that it provides, looking at the tools and the technologies that are available. So on that note, we're just going to have a breakout session now where we will discuss. So this is I'm just going to read a brief. So digitalization can be considered as a movement which creates opportunities for women faster than ever before. It's a very broad statement. So the task is identify the role or roles that digitalization or technology, depending on the sector that you're in, can play in attracting and retaining women in construction. Okay. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because I have to see how many, I can't see the participants or anything whilst I'm sharing my screen now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen to see how many, okay, I can see that we've got 15 participants. So I think I'm going to put us in 3 groups, and then we're just going to go out in a breakout room with 5 people in each room to discuss this particular task. And then we will come back in 15 minutes, and each group will have 2 minutes to summarize what they discussed, i.e., what you reckon that the role of digitization can play in attracting or retaining women in construction. Okay, so can you give me a thumbs up if everything I've just said is very clear before I put you up into breakout rooms? Okay, I've only seen a few thumbs up.
Okay.
2 people per room, is that correct?
Okay.
Now it's created 4. Wait, just bear with me. Four people in the breakout room. Because it looks like currently it's just one room that is really.
You've been the only one.
I realized that. So I'm trying to get Katrina she's just highlighted that if people join via Hoover.
We can start again.
But will they know? I mean, so those who've already started the discussion.
I'm only able to put 3 in a breakout room.
Right. Does anybody want to take a lead in terms of starting off the session? No?
Hi, Antoinette. I just thought I'd come back in just to check if everyone here can actually hear me or everyone understood the task that we're meant to complete.
We can hear you. We're just not talking to each other, I think.
Okay.
Because I asked a question and everybody's still on mute and
Let me just check. So Chrissy, Dermot, Magdalene, can you hear me? Okay.
Don't know, because I can hear you clearly. So
Yeah.
if there's an
And Tracy, I don't know if you can hear me. Right. Okay. I don't know if maybe they've just signed in and because at this point it's just to share, everyone to just share their experience, share what they know or what they don't know. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay. We can start off a session between me and you then in this time being, in the absence of everybody else doing. So we can share ideas since the other group will come back and share their ideas. So I'm game to do that.
Well, okay. So I can be sharing a lot of things I'll be saying later. But the thing is, I might be saying things twice. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Well, avoid that. Okay. So I'll give you my perspective of what
okay, you give me your perspective.
There we go.
Yeah, why
Exactly.
not?
Yeah, so coming from a marketing and IT background, and now working with mainly AEC customers, where I think digitization can help is the new roles that are coming up. I think that makes them super friendly towards mothers or people who have families as caregivers to then be able to be flexible with their time.
Okay.
I mean, all the collaboration tools that we're now seeing emerging in the industry then gives us a whole lot of scope in terms of what roles we can take within the industry. And I think that has all to do with technology and digitization. Over and above that, I think there's also an element of social media, having access to social media groups that target specifically either people from minority groups or women, then it gives them, the profile that they need or the access that they need into the industry. And I think that's another element that digitization helps with. So not necessarily the major tools, but the standard tools that everybody uses to be able to get access into the industry.
I can see Dermot is on.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can. So I think because I don't want to hear, because what's going to happen is we'll have to present back to the group and I can ask questions, well, not ask questions, but also anything for clarification. So I'm going to be in the background so that I can leave the discussion to everyone else in the group. I don't want to be interfering. Is that okay, Dermot and Antoinette?
Sure.
Okay.
No, just from my perspective, I work in construction resources, and we've been trying very hard to get young female engineers in. We take in about 25 graduates a year into the construction services. And for us, this digitalization is extremely important as it gives options to bring them into the industry without putting them on site immediately, which has been a big drawback because there seems to be a trepidation out there that it is still very male dominated, particularly on sites.
Yeah.
And this is for us a great avenue to get them into the industry while splitting it between office, home, and or site. So for us, this is actually a big thing, and all companies were taking digitalization of the process very seriously. But
Okay.
trying to attract young graduates, it gives us the options then to give them a choice at the start between office, home, or site, or a combination of both, which I think will help us over the next 6 to 12 months.
Mm. Oh, that's nice. That is quite good. And of course, then you don't have to worry about all the intensive health and safety training. Well, obviously that has to happen, but that doesn't stop you from continuing.
Yeah, I mean, we can give them all the training, etc. It's actually plonking them in a cabin of 40 men at 6 o'clock in the morning, sort of thing. I think puts a lot of people off, as it would anybody
Mm.
starting out in a new career. But I think them going to site with a skill that a lot of existing personnel don't have in terms of the digital process gives them a leg up that they don't normally get, and it also allows them to speak up at meetings because they have knowledge that other people don't, and a skill that a lot of people don't. So for us, it's something that hopefully will attract more candidates into our graduate program and above that level,
Okay.
that we can provide options,
Mm. Definitely.
because
And
that is the feedback we're getting from people. It's the thoughts of going to site um, is a problem.
really? Okay. I mean, in my past life, I used to
Hmm.
work for Bovis Lendlease
Yeah.
as an office manager slash marketing. And part
Hmm.
of my role was to help with the considered constructor scheme.
Okay. Yeah.
And more than anything, I think I found it, very friendly and not as intimidating as we all assumed that it would be. So I
Mm.
think it was all a matter of perspective and people making a bigger deal out of it than it actually is. Because once you do get on site, it's the same guys that
Sure.
you tend to be
Sure.
working with in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. As I said, I think it's about getting them there and showing them that the culture is okay.
Mhm.
That nothing's perfect, I know, but it's not as bad. It's like anybody starting any new job. It's never as bad as you think it's going to be. And there are a lot of good people willing to pass on experience and knowledge. So it's,
Mm.
as I said, it's just another for us, another avenue to get them into the industry and get them to site, you know.
Yeah, of course. Right. Now, another question for you, Dermot, though, and
Hmm.
this might be something that you can't answer. Do you think, not necessarily from a technology point of view, but do you think that we've advanced enough that it is actually safe for women to be on site, especially looking at pregnancy and issues like that?
Um, we think it is. I think we've made a lot of progress. I can only speak for our own company, but certainly our health and safety, both in terms of site, but also health and safety in the office.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of work done to ensure that people are safe, going to work, coming from work. But, in terms of, to take that particular example, pregnancy, etc., obviously individuals have choices, but, we try and facilitate as much as possible people working, whatever their condition, whether that's, having to take a break from the site to work from home or whatever it is. We're very cognizant about pushing both physical and mental health awareness,
Mm.
and trying to get people to communicate their issues so we can actually deal with things before they become major issues, either in people's minds or in reality. So we have programs in place, to try and encourage dialogue. To be honest, in that particular instance, we don't have enough experience because we haven't had enough candidates to
Of
face
course.
it.
Mhm.
But certainly in other departments where they've had to go to visit sites like process or health and safety, etc., we have protocols in place, and we try and communicate that to people so that there's no indecision, there's no uncertainty. People know exactly what their rights are, and that there are alternatives, either working from home or working from the office, for that period of time.
Mhm.
And again, I mean, we're not experts. It's a question of getting used to it as more women come into the industry for that particular instance. We
Of
need
course.
to learn as well and listen to them.
Yeah, true. And I guess we are all different. I mean, every individual is different in terms of what they need or what they go through.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, for us, it's getting people to talk about what's going on rather
Mm.
than, supposing or guessing what they're thinking.
Yeah.
It's about them telling us what the major issues are, whether it's on site or in the office. Like, what are the blocks? What are the problems? What are the things that annoy people? Like, if you
Mm.
tell us, at least we can try and fix it or be aware of it, rather than just assuming things, which I think is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
both sides assuming that the other understands.
No, definitely. Okay. And from a technological point of view, do you see that using technology has become more prolific?
Oh yeah,
Since COVID.
absolutely. I mean, we went virtual more or less overnight as a company back in March, and our sites more or less stayed open. So I think, funnily enough, our productivity has gone up on site due to the protocols. Technology has certainly kicked in. I think it's like anything, you plan and plan, but until you actually have to do it, it's like a lifeboat drill. It looks great until you actually try it.
Yeah.
But when we went to go virtual, a lot of plans that we had for, technology, etc., had to work. And where they did, great. Where they didn't, we knew what the problems were and tried to fix it.
Yeah.
I think the digitalization of sites has been accelerated because of this. So we've learned a huge amount in 6 months,
Yeah.
What about yourselves?
I mean, we're on the other side because obviously we sort of create and sell the software that's for you guys. So I mean, we've been as busy as, actually busier than ever with COVID having struck in. That there's more demand obviously to be able to collaborate with teams and find some way of working that doesn't involve people being on site. So
Yeah.
there has been that much more of a demand to be able to then try and upskill the companies that we work with in terms of their workforce and trying to get them to use more tools than they would have ordinarily been able to use.
Yeah.
I mean, from a marketing point of view, I see that we tend to do now a whole lot of the lunch and learns with our customers, just to try and get them to get onto the systems and have that element of support in knowing what they're doing with our systems to be able to work remotely. So
Very good.
Exactly. So we would have not been able to do any of that had it not been for technology, obviously. So that's definitely us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's very interesting. So I hope Antoinette and Demot, you've got 2 points or whatever point to summarize what you've come up with when it comes to attraction and in terms of retention as well.
Well, Antoinette can speak on our behalf. So that's great.
Okay.
Oh, God, I'm throwing me under the bus there.
You got to get in there quickly.
Sure, I'm sure we can come up with something. Yeah.
Okay. So
Thanks.
I'm just checking. So I think we have everyone back. So welcome back. I hope that breakout session was useful, i.e. you were able to reflect and share some maybe strategies or what you reckon the role of digitalization can be when it comes to attracting and retaining women in construction. So I'd like to invite the first group. I don't know whoever wants to be the first group, because we're two in 2 main rooms. So I'd like to invite the first group to come and share whatever, summarize what was discussed for both attraction and retention.
No? Okay, I'm happy to go first then.
Okay.
That's all right. Oh, okay. Chris is saying, yeah, there we go. Chris is happy to jump on.
Okay. Yes, Chris.
Hi, so can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. Okay, so we had 3 different kind of main points from each of us in the room. Arlette was talking a lot about making sure that women were included during specific times. So, for example, when they were away from the workplace, things like not just maternity, but also caring, or if there was an accident, just making sure that those connections were kept. She made a good point, which is there's often a policy or process in place to do that, but it's not always carried out. Then Barbara was talking about the fact that we all agreed that retention was very important, and for me and Arlette, we felt that it was the most important thing. But Barbara was saying she hasn't really got many women at all in the housing association. So for her, retention is incredibly important, and working out how to attract women in the first place. So we talked about getting flexible working, wording on applications, making sure that wording is in a language that women will be more positive to respond to, and using positive action along those lines. And then I actually been trying to work on a project, well, I will do once my PhD is finished, regarding digitalisation and understanding microaggressions, something called the Duck Project, which is about, for me, when I worked in construction for 10 years, I found that it wasn't the big bad things that were a problem in so much as all of the little things every day that made me aware of the fact that there was a bigger problem. So when the bad things happened, the really bad ones, I already had my message as to why, well, whether I could report it or not. So for me, I'm trying to collate those microaggressions to understand how they build pictures, and also how do we respond? How do I respond as a white working class woman? Would that response have the same impact as the response of a middle class black woman? Or perhaps there are nuances in there. So how can we start to challenge and overcome them? And I think for me, digitalisation is the answer there. Yeah, that was us.
Wow, thank you. I'm actually very interested in the microaggressions. A very good point. So thank you very much, group. I'll call you group 1 now, or room 1. So room 2.
Okay, cool. I'll jump in here. Hi, everybody. My name is Antoinette. So yeah, my group was myself and Doma. I'll start off with the attracting sort of talent. As Dermot mentioned, that they run, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dermot, by calling it an internship program. And part of what they do there is that they've now moved it to virtual, which sort of eases the recruits into almost a middle ground, as opposed to being thrown onto site with, in that environment that might be a bit overwhelming from somebody new who's starting within the environment. They get a chance to be able to do all their training and everything online, which obviously has been, enabled by digitalization. And that makes it easier for them to be able to almost ease in to, the sector. The second thing that we spoke about was health and safety on site. I mean, he mentioned that they're doing a whole lot. I mean, the reason I'm referencing Dermot is because he is actually in the sector, while I'm on the other side, being almost, they're my customer, so to speak. So I was speaking about my experiences and then relating them to what he experiences as a person on site. So we were talking about pregnancy and being able to work on site for women, and he's saying that they are making it possible for people to, everybody, not just that women, pregnant women, but everybody to be able to continue working. And obviously there's an element of advocacy there, and a give and take in terms of individuals being able to speak their mind about what they actually need to make it feasible for them to continue working on site, as well as then the amendments that needed to be being made by the company. So that element of communication between the two parties was quite key to moving forward. Then, there's an element of what has happened with COVID, where a lot of companies found themselves having to go virtual overnight. And Dermot was giving his experiences with what they had to do then to literally ramp up overnight, in as much as you plan for these things, but they never really happen until you're put into a position where you do not have a choice but to start adopting technology to be able to continue working. Whilst we on the other end, as Autodesk, as a software supplier, so to speak, have seen a ramp up as well, especially with COVID. We've had to, ramp up ourselves with upskilling customers with a lot of the collaboration tools. A whole lot had to be moved online for them to be able to survive and continue working. And I think that is all part of the circle of being able to attract women in the environment. Because of everything being online, then it makes it that much easier to be able to communicate better and highlight what it is that the industry is doing, as well as then making it plausible for people to see where they can plug in with the different or evolved roles within the industry. And that's it from us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Group 1 and Group 2, i.e. sharing the strategies or what you reckon or the role digitalization will play in attracting and retaining women. So what I'm going to do now is share some few examples from other sectors and what they're doing specifically when it comes to attracting. So I think I have to be made a host so I can share again, Katerina. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay. So all the points you've made, very, very good, things that we have to think about and consider and see how best we can apply it. And most of the experiences that you've shared are also very good that we can learn across disciplines. So for the oil, okay, I need to update someone in. So in terms of the oil and gas sector, this is what they're doing to attract women. So what they realized is that flexible working is what they need to do to attract women, and digitalization will help them to promote flexible working. So they are using digital enabled flexible working approach to attract women into the sector, and also still using digitalization to create more possibilities and soft new roles, i.e. for women who are interested in soft skills, to give them the opportunity to be able to work, and then use this to attract them into the sector, just so that they don't just think that, okay, no, I don't want this, and then don't even get into the sector at all. So the key thing is creating new job opportunities, new job avenues, new roles, that women can carry out in their own flexible time to deliver, to contribute to the company. And then also we have Maersk, which is a shipping and logistic company. And the key thing that they are focusing on is in terms of language. So how we can use digitalization to remove any cognitive bias in terms of the language for the jobs that have been advertised, just so that, because some adverts, there was a study that was carried out, and what they realized is that when they put an advert out, more men apply than women. So then they just have to use artificial intelligence and a gaming software to see, assess the language, see what they're doing differently, or what gendered language is in or threading through their job adverts or templates. So just to rethink and then open it up to develop strategy for female, or increase the possibility of women to apply for job roles. So again, this is just a general thing I found from research from the World Economic Forum about how AI powered video systems are used to provide coaching processes for the managers, i.e., to nudge them and basically highlight any biases they have. Because with unconscious bias, normally you don't know that you have them, but using these digital tools to highlight any unconscious or implicit biases that they may be during the recruitment process. In addition to using these AI processes to see how best they can attract women even to first apply, and also during the interview process to make sure that everyone is treated equally. Then when it comes to retention, some companies are using either machine learning or natural language to see people's level of interaction. So one of the things with retention is when people don't feel included or feel like they are engaging, or they feel isolated. That is one of the key drivers that leads them to drift away from the company or from the role. So some sectors are using AI machine learning chatbots to have a look at their interaction, and to have a look at high hotspots where people are being excluded, so that there can be strategic decisions to rethink the process and see how best people can feel included, and i.e. meeting them at a particular point or addressing a particular issue that might not be visible. So we've highlighted how digital tools can do this. One thing that we need to be very cautious about is these technologies that we are going to also use. We have to make sure that the ethic, in terms of the ethics, how these technologies, AI, machine learning tools were written, how they were developed, how we have to make sure there are even no biases in the softwares that have been developed before we use it. Because trying to use that to solve a problem, you also have to make sure that it's not going to create any further problem for you, be it using it to attract and or to retain women in the sector. So things to do with issues about privacy concerns. So whatever platform or data environment we're going to use to enhance or resolve these issues, have a look at privacy concerns, any issues, to see what the software is giving us. How is it in line with the company values, the company policies? Is there a conflict? How does it assess? How does it actually work? So try and understand. And one thing we need to remember is these digitization processes, they are normally just tools. So I'll use the normal term that we use, garbage in, garbage out, but we also have to, we the users have to be in control to understand how it works and how to maximize or use it for the betterment of the organization. And then also have a look at how the product, as I said, any biases that it might have, not just for gender, but for race, for ethnicity, any other protected characteristics, to see how best we can control this tool and use it. And even the understanding what happened in the background, how it was programmed. Okay, so these are just things that we also have to take note. In addition to us talking about, the fact that we can use digitalization is fantastic, it also has the other flip side, and then it's up to us to reflect and assess the functionalities so that we can achieve what we want to use it for. In terms of the built environment, I've highlighted when it comes to retention, the fact that it's very important for tasks and processes and teams working on it to be feel very included. So within the built environment, we do have things like the common data environments, cloud-based systems, which facilitate remote working, and any tools that facilitate team working, which are goal-oriented. So you never know who's really working in the background when it comes to actually delivering, let's say maybe building something, a 3-story building or high-rise, whatever complex project that we are delivering. Because of these virtual platforms that are available, facilitated by these digital tools, we can interact and work with people. You never know whether the structural engineer you're working with is a man or a woman. The key thing is focusing on what that structural engineer can deliver. And the same thing, so we then focus on what people can do and not who they are or how they are defined, provided, i.e., that the work is done. So there are a lot of digital facilities that make people feel included and also help us to be goal-oriented or output-oriented, not just, and then remove any biases that they may be within the process. So this is a summary and just a workshop session, and I'm really grateful for the points that were shared during the breakout. Very insightful, very good points, and I believe we've all learned something out of it. So thank you very much. That is my email address, my office phone number, and then my Twitter